This podcast is sponsored by Relevant, a location-based mobile network personalized by your interests. Customize your news feed to consolidate all the information you care about all in one place to quickly and easily find what's relevant to you. Find out what's going on in your local area and reach your community from the palm of your hand. Relevant is available on iOS and coming soon to Android. Be the first to know with Relevant.
What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Poorly Edited Podcast. My name is Coffee Guy. I have bad news. Chandler is trapped in a wintry Arctic continent somewhere in a cold part of the globe. But I do have my good friend here, my partner in crime.
Me, Patrick, Lilly.
How you doing, Pat?
I'm just dandy.
Thanks for showing up today. I appreciate it.
I try.
Can we make Chandler salty, even though it's kind of our fault?
I think he's already salty.
Okay, that's fine. We can make it worse. Anyway, we're here with our good friends. It's a local band from the Lehigh Valley. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Absolutely. My name is Mac, and I play bass in the band called From Antarctica.
And my name is Paco, and I am the forced frontman for this group. So
Forced Frontman.
Forced Frontman's a sweet name for a band.
That is actually good.
Okay, so I'm Mac from Forced Frontman.
we just changed our name.
Absolutely,
just now.
right now. Yeah.
Because there's so many bands out there that say, yeah, I'm the singer because I had to be. You know, was that what it was like for you? We're jumping right into it. Was that what it was like?
Oh, it was not necessarily. Actually, this current lineup is only been a year and a half or so, and just recently I've taken on this sort of persona. In addition to my own personal insecurities, my very awkward nature. So whenever I'm on stage, it feels like I'm forced, in the sense that it appears that like I don't want to be on stage, when in factuality that's the only thing I ever want to do. So that's kind of what this forced frontman image is, what we have at the moment.
I don't think it was like that. I mean, Pat and I saw you guys for the first time the other night. Killer show, first of all.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, I did. It seemed like you were having a good time.
Of course we were. We always have a good time whenever we play, even if we look like we're ready to go to the bathroom 90% of the time. we go there. But
is that stressful, having to plan out like when to go to the bathroom around your set?
Oh,
and
yeah,
you think you've got it?
You have to have a schedule.
Yeah.
It just like at like 6:33, I have to use the bathroom right now,
Yeah.
or the set's gonna be ruined. I cannot go on stage like
I
this.
also have to hold his hand every time he goes to the bathroom.
That's understandable.
Every time.
It's a scary place.
It's a scary place.
Anything can happen there. So.
He tends to get lost. I tend to get lost. And in fact, I think everyone in the band gets lost 90% of the time.
Hello, I'm Mac from Get Lost.
So everything I say is going to be the new band name?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the plan here.
Get Lost.
Yep.
Is that a band already?
It is a band now.
Okay. These are good band. Most people they struggle for months or whatever to find the
You're just
name for their
cranking 'em
band.
out, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. I should go into like that business. Just always thinking of new band names.
I think there's actually value there.
There might be. I would think isn't there a website for that?
Is there?
Yeah.
There totally is. Like website, you just like type in like any sort of phrase or any type of genre, and then it'll pump out like.
Is
all
it
the
like
names.
one of those things? Just like if your shirt is black, then like
Yeah.
you have this band name.
Yeah,
Like the charts on Facebook?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't there the Wu-Tang name generator?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that how Childish Gambino got his name?
I
hope so.
think he's the one, yeah.
That would be beautiful.
Most of those name generator sites though aren't good. I mean, you got to sift through for hours
No,
too.
because like we recently were like thinking just like maybe we should change the name, and I actually went on to one for like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, that's what happens.
It's like Flaming Salmon is the new band name. And
That's
just,
pretty
like,
sweet. I'd see Flaming Salmon, dude.
See, like I feel like that's good for like a ska band.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for
like
sure.
if you went to go out to a ska show and you're just like, yo, Flaming Salmon's playing tonight, like I have to be there in like my gigantic Converse and mosh as much as I
And your
possibly
checkered
can.
shorts.
Oh,
Oh.
how could I forget?
You also need the jazz hat. That's a big thing, or the beanie to like go to these concerts.
I'm really sad I missed out on the ska generation, as short-lived as it was.
See, I did a lot of two-step to ska back in the day, and my knees do not appreciate it now.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm like 45 from the knees down.
Yeah. No, I have old man knees. It sucks. It's
Exactly,
not a
right?
good time, man.
I think his head is an also indicator that he's about 40 right now.
Hey.
Ooh, wow.
The common joke is the 7 head that I kind of like protrude around, when we play shows. That's why I have the beanie on right now.
Dude, is Flaming Salmon about to break up over this?
Oh yeah, no, sorry. I'm the former bass guitarist of Flaming Salmon.
Now, you guys had just said you were thinking about maybe changing the name, but before we get to that, I was kind of interested when you went on and you were like, "Hey, everybody, we're from Antarctica." Like, you didn't even say, like, I'm like, are they going to say we're from Antarctica? Like, how's that going to work?
We've tried to coach Paco
Okay.
into saying our name is we're from Antarctica.
Yeah.
But he does not believe in taking anything that we say.
Oh no.
So he just kind of goes on and hopefully says, a mixture of consonants and vowels.
Right.
And
It usually goes into creating a sentence.
That's a good point.
But we just kind of let Paco do whatever he wants in that case. Like, Paco has his own way of just, like, manipulating words and kind of getting through a set. So we hope for the best every time we get on the show.
It usually doesn't go well.
How'd you come up with the original name, We're From Antarctica?
That's Paco.
Actually, this name, if you count me and the drummer Chris, who's also my roommate, he and I have been in a band for almost 4 years, and we've collectively had different names. One particular lineup with our one ex-guitarist, his name is TJ. He and I and Chris were in like this room, and we were basically just looking for any kind of name. We had the name Dreamweaver at the time, which was, to me, was a pretty decent name, but we felt that we wanted something different, something new and fresh. So we were just spitballing names like, any band does in the garage. And essentially, what ended up happening was TJ just came up with this idea. It was like, we're from Antarctica, just out of the blue. And we were just like, yeah. Oh my God, yeah! and we were just that's totally different, because we felt like Dreamweaver was a bit too spacious for how we are as a group.
Yeah.
So and then it just evolved into that, and I think it reflects also just the nature of the group and like how we operate and how each member is either of a different perspective, comes from a different background, and we all come together to make like the music that we make now. So that's pretty much where the name came from. And to answer your next question, we're actually not from Antarctica.
Okay.
We want to conquer it sometime in like the year 2030.
That probably wouldn't be hard, would it?
There's
just
a
polar
couple,
bears, right?
There's a couple sanctions we have to get through, a couple of
Oh.
UN sort of
Those sanctions are always getting me down, dude.
Oh, dude, always.
I will box a penguin. that is a promise.
Are you sure? I mean, like, I don't know.
I will gladly lose. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I feel that, like, they'll just start waddling towards you, and you'll just cower in fear.
You're like, this thing's cute, man.
No, it goes to the fetal position every time.
I really hope, like, I do fight a penguin, and it becomes, like, Bruce Lee, and just, like, kicks me in the chops.
That'd be
And
sweet.
That would be it. Like, I would be like, I lost to a penguin, and that means, like, the name is even more solidified, and we can never change it.
So you guys have to be tired of that question, like yesterday, right? Pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say tired. I would say that, like, we always have to come up with, like, some sort of, like...
Something witty.
Yeah, distinct answer. But, yeah, essentially that's what the name comes from. And, for me, at least, I feel that it exemplifies and really just creates that foundation of, like, what we are as a group and what we are as people. So.
Yeah, I like that. It's cool. So you guys just played a show.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we did.
Sponsored by Tape Swap Radio or something like that.
Love the guys.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Like, Seamus and
Adam.
Matt are, like, always, like, great people to work with. And honestly, I wish the best for more of their endeavors, and I would love to keep working with them, to be honest. So.
Cool. Good. Did you guys record your album with them by any chance?
No, we recorded the album with an old friend of mine named Justin Mitchell through King Studios.
Okay.
And I've known him for the past maybe like 6 or 7 years. As we were talking about before the show, I was in a post-hardcore band with the long hair and the eyeliner, and
Nice.
I started talking to this dude named Justin who was in like this Rise Records, band for a while. And he was our producer, and we recorded our first song in like a trailer park in New Tripoli, and ever since then he kept going on and on and on, and I've been going to him for the past 6 years. So we were just like, I've known this guy, he's been pumping out great work for me and my older bands, and we decided to go through him. And now we're gonna plan on trying to go through the Shards, actually, over in what was it, Bethlehem?
Yes, I believe so. With Matt as the recording engineer, which the Run from the Radio Boys, I believe, went to. So
Yeah, we're excited to work with.
It's a really cool studio. I was there for a little bit while they were working on their release, and it's like really crazy once you walk in. It's like
Serious?
super random. There's like a metal. There's like a steel beam going that has like, I forget what it has. It's like a music note or something on
That's
it.
awesome.
That's really
That's
cool.
really
It's like
cool.
15 feet tall. That's really, I don't know.
Yeah, we have not been there whatsoever. Like we just talked about going, so like now you've made me really excited to go even more.
Yeah, we just felt that it was a different type of vibe than what Justin was able to do. I love Justin, but it's just sort of, it was a differing sort of musical perspectives,
Yeah.
and it made it into the product that we got from our original EP, which is called Porch Light.
Right.
And so I think moving forward, we wanted to do something a little bit more different, and we felt that the Shards was definitely a great spot to do that.
Yeah, it's important to switch it up, I think, too, just to keep things fresh on that side of things. You
Oh,
know?
absolutely, yeah. Like you can listen to bands that produce the same kind of music over and over again, and it might be a musical issue, but it also could be a producer issue. You know, you go to the same
Yeah.
people, you write the same stuff in the same key, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of bands that end up flopping because you know their last albums out of like their third album and their fourth album and so on and so
Right.
forth.
Or they prosper and they're like AC/DC basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
One band that I think you guys like, called the Arctic Monkeys. I feel like they do a really good job switching it up between albums, where it still sounds like Arctic Monkeys, but it's like a different experience in each album.
Oh, absolutely.
They're actually one of we actually have a couple of key influences that all of us have in common. One of them is the Arctic Monkeys, and especially with like their style. I was a big fan of their earlier work when they were very garage rock of that time, and they evolved into this sort of British sort of trying to expand from what Oasis did with the British mannerisms in their music, and they made it into a really refined art of like indie basically. And they're one of the big people that we enjoy. Especially I like their new album, Hotel Base
Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino.
See, you got it
There it
there.
is.
I spent a lot of time listening to that
Yeah,
album.
we spent a whole show almost talking about it, so I think all of us can say the name without
By
stumbling.
I mean, it was just me.
but yeah, it was
pretty
just
much.
you and Chandler. It was you and Chandler.
It was a very interesting album, and I think just the way that they like to switch things up and maintain sort of the core sound or the quintessential feel from the group itself, I think is how we would like to operate in that same area. Not necessarily the same type of music, maybe, but in that same vein of exploring while retaining the core aspects of what we are as a group, you know, so yeah, that's a thing.
So what are the other key influences that you all share?
One big one is definitely the Strokes.
Okay.
Like we have all been a huge fan of the Strokes, listen to all the albums, and we can kind of like come close and like definitely listen to the Strokes and be like, all right, we all enjoy mainly like Room on Fire, Angles.
Is this it?
Is This It? Obviously,
Yeah, so-
fantastic album. That was one of the main ones.
And then like there's Chris who's like I like Come Down Machine the best because
Come Down Machine.
he's the weird one. But in addition, actually recently we've been getting into the little band called the Beatles, or is that what?
the beat.
The Beatles,
The Beats,
right? The
yes.
Beats, yeah.
The Beatles,
No,
right.
there
The
you go.
Eagles,
The
yeah.
the
The
Eagles.
Eagles, yeah.
We've recently been getting into their sort of, again, their idea of experimenting while also maintaining their sound throughout the years, because every album is very distinct, even in the early days. But it was a very interesting thing to see them grow, evolve their sound, and still, you still remember them as the four boys from Liverpool.
Do you think there's any connections that can be made between the Beatles and the Arctic Monkeys?
Actually, I would say yes, in the same vein as they're exploring. They like to put in British mannerisms and references, a very witty style of like talking. They have this sort of sense of like almost humor with themselves. I think the Arctic Monkeys in the earlier days, they didn't really take themselves that seriously. Later on, I assume they started to do that, and that was the same kind of evolution. And if yeah, I don't know anyone who's like British, but from the outside looking in,
Are they real?
it seems that they hold them in a similar regard, not like
Really?
the same kind of like influence or the same type of like respect, but sort of in that same vein of these musicians from Britain bringing it to the to the Americas and to the whole world, conquering the whole world in that essence. So I would see it in that way. I don't know about you. How about you, Mac?
I listened to like 4 songs like ever from the Arctic Monkeys, so I'm a very bad I'm a very bad person to ask about it. But whatever Paco said, yes, and yeah.
But yeah, and we've recently been enjoying stuff in that same vein. One other key influence that we've recently, I don't think recently, but I just think overall, I don't want to speak for Mac. Mac is always the outsider when it comes to influences, but not saying anything wrong about that. He adds the variable cinnamon spice we need for our delicious.
I listen to heavy metal.
Yes, he does.
You always got to mix it up a little bit. You got to
Yeah,
have
exactly.
somebody in the band to like throw a little spin on stuff sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, like we're like Strokes meets like Lamb of God in my eyes.
Lamb of God. I thought you were gonna say Fall Out Boy.
Oh, that's a little too heavy for me, so if you could back it up a little bit.
Jeez.
Too many breakdowns.
Wow.
Too many breakdowns.
Like-
I was also gonna say, what was the group that like was super big? That's super big, but everyone hated. It was like they
A
were
lot
like
of groups.
math. Huh?
A lot of groups.
Yeah.
No,
Limp Bizkit?
Limp Bizkit. No, I was. Never mind. But in
Oasis?
Oasis.
Speaking of Oasis, I always wanted to be a Gallagher brother. I always wanted. I always wanted to, speak in a very thick accent and then start fighting with my brother over the fact that like I'm a better singer than you. Or no, that's simply not the case. But recently we've been getting into this a group called the Growlers. We're actually I think the 3 of us. I think it's like me, Mac, and our lead guitarist John. We're supposed to like see them in Philly. They're this surf rock group. They call themselves beach goth because they add like stuff from like country to reggae.
How do you stay pale though at the beach? How does that work out?
I mean, I have no problem.
Dense umbrellas.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, made of lead. So
Wow.
no sun comes through.
No
Jeez.
sun.
Yeah, no sun at all.
Then we'll look
Or
like
radiation.
Chris.
What'd you say?
I said or radiation.
Oh, you
For
know what?
blood.
That works as well. You know
It's
what?
just better for your health, really.
Now we're getting into like Fallout.
Oh yeah, we're good. Yeah. Oh, don't
Come
get
on,
us
Rad's low.
Before-
don't get us started with Fallout because we'll
Yeah.
talk about our specific build for.
Fallout 76.
No, on.
No, I'd love to hear it, but I don't know if we have time. I don't know if we can go. Like, we probably don't have the time to fully do a Fallout conversation justice.
Oh, I would love
We
that.
need another like 3 hours probably.
No, I
Regardless, though, we're just going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll delve in deeper with We're From Antarctica.
All right.
Lately I've been thinking that you left me for my blackened soul. It's clear to me now we accept change but can't move on. It's the grand conclusion, the grand
And we're back. The Poorly Edited Podcast. We're from Antarctica. That was just their song, Back to the Beginning, I think. Yes, it was.
Which I think is a good song to sort of introduce people to We're from Antarctica. I don't know if that's something you like to hear or not. I feel like certain artists might be like, oh, no, don't say that about that song.
See, I love that song.
Yeah.
Like, I've always enjoyed that song. I think it's the best to like bring people in, but
Right.
everyone else in the band does not agree.
Okay,
That even happened today. We're like, hey, what song do you guys want to play? And then you immediately said that one, and Paco's like, are you sure?
And he's just like, are you positive? Like, do we have to really play that song? I'm just like, yes. I don't know. It's my favorite song off the EP, hands down.
I have my own personal favorite. Thank you very much.
What's your
What's your
personal
personal favorite? Is
Uh,
it Cutting Edge?
I personally no, actually no. That song, Cutting Edge, to me, I mean, the way that I have to
No, go for
divulge into the songwriting process. We're very collective about how we write. Usually, like one other person comes in with lyrics or a guitar riff, and we sort of like go, all right, that's the bass line. So what are we going to work on? We're going to work on transitioning and like knowing like timing and knowing what part is what. So for this song, actually, I wrote this when I was 15. So it's like almost 5 years ago that I wrote this.
I can understand why you might be a little apprehensive about a song you wrote when you were 15.
Yeah.
Is it a confidence thing in the song? Like, do you not like the song, or does it just bring you back in a way you don't like? Or
Not necessarily. I feel that the song itself, I feel it was the beginning stages of my own
Okay.
like journey as writing lyrics and
Sure.
Singing and like songwriting. It was a cry to be yourself and to be an individual, to become cutting edge and not actually looking for the cutting edge thing that's going on.
Right.
It was a whole thing about trends and how people always search for something that isn't in front of them, but something that's way off and that's not themselves. And it's sort of, you lose yourself by that. So that's why
Lose yourself to the music.
That's true.
there it
In
is.
that case.
Perfect.
So just drawing from that raw, angsty teen energy
Right.
of just wanting to be yourself, express yourself kind of thing. It sort of evolved into that kind of song. And now it's more of like a song looking back as the foundation of what I'm going to do
Right.
and what I am doing right now as a songwriter and what the band is as
right.
a whole. So
And at that point, I guess you want to feel like you've grown, so you want people to feel the same way, and they don't want you don't want them to just keep hearkening back to the same sort of thing.
which I don't think is a bad thing, because in one essence you can grow in repeating the same thing. That's how, like, when people say, oh, you have to do things 10,000 times in order to fully understand what's going on. That song in particular, I think, really, like, when people get the energy, the vibe, the sort of message that's behind that song, I think they're growing in that sort of way. And in that sense, every time we play it, we grow. I just personally, like, I've played it like almost upwards up to like 3,000 times.
Yeah, I imagine.
So
That is actually one of the only songs we don't practice.
Really?
Just because you got it down?
It's like we'll play like the beginning part, like Chris does his little fill in the beginning. We'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, and play an E, and then we're done. We cannot stand like practicing the song. We put all of our energy into playing it. It just like every time we're just like, yeah, let's practice Cutting Edge. We just hear it as just like unified. Like, do we really have to do this today? And we never do.
which
We practice it once a month.
well,
It's like custody.
but at the same time, when we play it, we give it our all, and we sort of collectively unify to give out, this just intense energy, so that it sort of like gives the audience that feeling of like, I enjoyed what I did. I hope you enjoyed what we played for you and what we offered.
I definitely felt that during the show. I was like, maybe I don't want to say this because I feel like you guys might be annoyed by it. It might have been my favorite song you guys played.
See, like we have no problem with that
Yeah,
live.
no,
like,
we don't.
Like practicing it, it's a little bit of a drag, but like playing it for people, that's where it's all at, because we're able to put like all that emotion, because we played the song so many times that we didn't feel like we need to practice it, and we can, like, I don't know, put all that emphasis on just like stage presence and like getting with the crowd. Like for that show, we had like maybe like 4 or 5 people that's like roughing it in front, like almost
Yeah.
in a mosh pit, and just like
Yeah.
that got me going.
I mean, that happened
At
a
one
couple
point
times.
during your set, I mean, it got nuts. It was
Yes, it did.
actually nuts.
Dude, I was next to them with a camera. I'm like,
Yeah, me too.
This is worth a lot of money. I can't get moshed right now.
I'm
Yeah.
one elbow away from losing this song.
Yeah,
Like-
so somebody got thrown into me, and I just had to juke him to save my camera.
That's what I love about seeing like you guys and like on from the radio perform, is that whenever they're not on stage, they're always like moshing for some reason.
Oh,
And it's
yeah,
always
no.
just like 4 people in the pit, but it's I love the energy those guys
Yeah.
bring to like
For sure, they're
the
great.
show,
Oh,
even
yeah,
when
no,
they're
I
not
love-
performing.
That's yeah. Go ahead.
I
man.
love the guys from From the Radio.
yeah.
We've been playing with them for like a whole year. We play at Chris's place at Live at 13. They've
Yeah.
invited us so many times. And every time there always seems to be at least 4 people, the same exact 4 people moshing at every show.
That's
Oh,
great.
And it's fantastic.
It always started by a man called Jared Shebo,
Yeah.
who I absolutely adore. I love Jared. If you're hearing this, Jared, please let me know because we love you.
This has been a PSA from your local Paco.
I have a quick question for both of you.
Yeah.
Do you know which side of his head Chris's hair parts?
If you're looking at it from
Like head on.
Like straight on.
Yeah.
Head on?
What side?
well, if you're looking at from his head is shaved. If we're looking towards him,
Yes.
and not himself, is on my left. But if you're looking towards him, it's on his right. So in one sense, he's both left and right. No, you know where I'm getting
No,
at.
you got it. You got it right though. I
think so, yeah.
You're the
You're the
first,
first
person to actually know what side of his head his hair parts
We've
are.
asked Jeff. We've asked Brady and Mitchell. They
yeah,
didn't know.
they had no idea.
I mean, I feel that Brady and Mitch, you know, they're whenever they perform, I feel like they're always together, and it's like them, James and Mitch, and then Chris is on like just on the side, just
Yeah.
playing his
Yeah.
chords. He's just like, oh, I'm out here, man. We're out here in the fields, dude.
Yeah.
And then like especially the new drummer, Chris, like. Bringing that explosive energy, yeah, they're all there for collectively, and then I just see Chris, and I always stare at Chris. 'Cause
Oh, my head hurts. Stop saying the word Chris.
Oh,
There's like
it's-
13 Chris's in like
There
2
is,
bands.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
There
I'm
is.
sorry
It's
that
ridiculous.
I have to repeat a very common name. I'm not sorry that we can't say Mac every 5 times. You know
Well,
what
you
I'm saying?
should.
Well, I don't know anyone who's named Mackenzie Cressley, though.
What?
Are you
I'm
guys
right
breaking
here?
up?
Yeah.
You're hurting my feelings.
Oh,
Is this it for Flaming Salmon?
yeah.
This is Flaming Salmon signing off. Thank you.
Well, guys, it's been great.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mac from We're Going on a Break.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's, but honestly, our relationship with them, specifically.
Yeah, how did that start?
Our relationship with them has been a very, like, condensed, and not condensed, sorry. The phrase I want to say is a very close relationship with them. I'm going to take you way back, time machine.
Back to the beginning.
Yes. To reference,
Like how far back?
we're going to go as far back as, I guess, my junior year. So
Wow.
this is like 4 years ago, maybe? 4 or 3 years ago. So there was before Live at 13, which I know you guys did a podcast recently on it. There was a place called The Experience, and it was run by a guy named Nolan Gray.
Oh yeah, we
who-
heard a little bit about this.
Yeah, it was like the forerunner. It was a predecessor of Live at 13. He started this idea to bring these local bands who aren't fitting in like the specific like scenes that are around here, especially like the hardcore scene, or even like sometimes like the more like grungier scene, or even like the oldie scene, because we all gotta get a groove on with that
Yeah, man.
rock and roll thing. So we played it like the first one ever, and Brady, Chris, and Tyler all were at that show.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up. You guys probably know this, but Chris told us that show that you guys were at was the reason that they wanted to do what they're doing now at Live at 13. And he credits you guys specifically as part of that reason.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, to me,
This is
like
news to me.
this is news to him. I was aware of this because we talked about it. But no, I
Max started crying for anyone.
But what I mean is that I'm really glad because they've grown into something completely
Yeah.
like amazing.
Yes.
And they've really like honed in on what they do. They're very unified. They're very like energetic. They have
I'm
like
so excited for this next show because I know it's just
October
going to
27th.
be. I know it's just going to be even better than the one in July. I'm super pumped.
Well, yeah, from what I'm told by Chris, it's like all the big names and all the local favorites, are coming back and playing, and we're one of them. And we have a very spicy set coming up
Good.
for that. We got some.
Ooh.
Yeah, some exclusive stuff that no one's ever heard except for
Is
the
there
4 of us.
any
before.
Tranquility
Yeah.
Base Hotel Casino on there?
Maybe,
Wow.
or maybe
We might throw one or
Dude,
two.
if you threw out Star Treatment out of nowhere, I'd love it. Everyone else would be confused, but I'd mosh to Star Treatment if you.
just immediately starts. No, I would think. Well, if you did four stars out of 5, I feel like I feel like I need to like slick back my hair and then just like wear that mafia outfit that Alex wears. So,
Alex got very cool
I mean,
as the band went on.
you know, I feel like he was like that. He was a frontman. I feel like his first iterations, he was like kind of like that forced frontman, like that sort of awkward. I really don't want to be here, but I really do at the same time when he was originally just starting to play, and as the albums went on, he became like this sort of like almost like this Elvis sort of level of like bravado and just this sense of cool. Like he slicked back his hair and like he started to be like, oh, I'm
Wearing
all
leather
deep like this.
jackets.
I'm all deep like this, just sort of thing. But yeah, but back to the point for Run for the Radio, at least for me, I consider them like our brother band. We're sort of like this family where we both look out for each other. We both like to hang out. We enjoy each other's company, and in turn we enjoy each other's music. And I feel like as a collective together, like I would love to like see us grow, see us improve, especially them, because I remember seeing them for the like first show, and it takes me back like when they first played, and then now that they play with all the new members. And all the new songs and
the new parts, the old songs.
Yeah, and it's just even like the way that they covered like the songs. It's just very iconic at this point for me. So
I love the intro they did for Buddy Holly. The other night. It was so funny. I did not see that coming.
I feel like Mitch is like wannabe Rivers Cuomo, like in some sense, mixed with like Brendan Urie. All in like this condensed like monster while wearing a Pokemon hat at the same time. So
That's true.
love the guys. Really do.
They're great.
So.
All right, we're going to go to a break real quick, but we'll be right back after these messages. And we're back on the Poorly Edited Podcast with We're From Antarctica.
That was so short. I feel like Chandler.
These are actually shorter than I usually do. These are 60, not 90.
That's really funny.
And I'd like to talk about a little thing called sound. And more specifically, how you like find a sound as a band. So it's like distinct enough that it has like your signature on it, but you can mix it up enough that songs don't always sound the same. I feel like...
Well, the cool thing that how we write is we all come from different backgrounds. As I said, I played in a heavier band back in the day, and we all take our own music genres and our own personal tastes, and we throw it into a song. You know, we try to learn new things, and Paco, like, okay, I have this riff, you know, I want to play this, and John will be like, all right, well, let me try to play this over it, and just kind of like, the sound becomes whatever we want it to be, and I feel like that's how music should be.
Yeah.
It's just like it's all different parts of our experiences and our knowledge, and all kind of comes together between like the hours of like 3 and 9 when we can practice on Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Actually, in addition to that, I want to be more specific with our genres. Like again, Mac is into heavier stuff. I'm very much into stuff like the distancing is like the spacing that's needed for. I forgot the joke. Okay.
Nailed it. That was really funny. Good job.
That was the punchline. But these specific genres that we're all into. I'm into a lot of older stuff and like stuff like the Beatles, Queen, even like choir and classical music, and I enjoy the blues and folk. John is very into like really hard, like he used to be in a punk band for a while, and then he sort of evolved, and he likes hip hop, and rap, and he also is interested in a lot of the new indie stuff that's more like flavored rather than, especially Mac DeMarco. Like I feel like me and John especially, we love Mac DeMarco. We vibe with him a lot, not so much Mac himself because they share the name. And Chris is actually used to be into the same kind of music Mac was into, but he actually went into more the indie folk and more emo music like Death Cab for Cutie, the Decemberists, So like combining all these sort of influences, and we take that into our playing style and how, and so we mesh this together, and then we figure out, okay, what does the song need, and what does the song should be like, and what's the vision we have for it. So I'll come in, I'll say, okay, let's play this progression, and then John's like, okay, I have this lick that goes on top of it, and then Mac has a killer bass line that he wants to go with it, and then Chris might say, oh, I think it fills right here, and then we collectively iron out all the issues and iron out all the imperfections, or keep some of them to retain that sort of natural flavor for music, and it collectively makes the sound that we have, which can be categorized in however people think our sound is. Whether it be, indie rock or alternative or garage rock or even like space prog alien like mishmash.
Wow.
Arabian prison jazz.
Okay, that's a running gag of
That's
the
a cool
joke.
name for a band, though.
Well,
Hello, this is the bass guitarist to Arabian prison jazz. Coming at you live.
you're in a lot of bands, dude. You're in more bands than Chris Carcetti, and he's in a lot of bands, man.
It takes up a lot of my time, but it's very worth it, especially Flying Salmon. I
Yeah.
do want to make a shout out to all you guys. Thank
I
you.
thought it was Flaming
I thought it was
Salmon.
Flaming Salmon, too.
It's also Flying Salmon.
You had two competing ska bands, both
Yeah.
with salmon in the name.
That's not gonna work.
I'm in a monopoly of all the ska bands that are actually left around,
Aw,
which is
man.
Flying Salmon and
Flaming Salmon.
Flaming Salmon. That was Flaming Salmon.
It's just those two, believe
It's
me.
just
That's
those
it.
two.
You're making me hungry for sushi now, man. Like, you're killing me here.
Oh, I love sushi so much.
Yeah, same.
All right. We can talk about food later
Yo,
on.
facts. But that's how like the sound is as we stand, and recently we've been trying to find our sound, and we've been trying to find sort of a new thing that isn't just indie and isn't just alternative. We wanted something that would. I'm not saying that we're like carving a path for all musicians to follow.
Yeah, but and how do you do that? Because that's such an arbitrary thing almost to try to do. Like, what do you do to just create something that sounds different?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
A lot of things have been done in the same vein, but in the spirit of like exploring, you have to look back, forward, and hear at the same time. So we'll look back at previous bands and see what they did that's completely gone. Like, actually, me and Mac, way early in the band, we were talking about like, why should we have multiple singers? And it's like, that's not really a thing now. And I'm like, but it is like back then, like especially like groups like like Queen, like all four of them would sing along to the song, or even some of them would take the lead vocal, or like the Beatles where they switch on and off like who the lead vocal is. That's like an outdated concept. So bringing it back in the modern setting, it's not necessarily reinventing that, and it's not necessarily discovering it, but it's sort of adding this element that has been either been rendered like obsolete or like at least not popular these days, and then you have to look at what's going on right now. So sometimes like I'll go and listen to all the new groups that are coming out and saying, oh, that's an interesting mix, or that's an interesting tone, or like I like how the song structure is, or I like that kind of line, or that sort of lyricism. It really depends. Like recently I was taking a look at group called 88 Rising. They're like this record label, and you guys know like Joji, Rich Brian. That kind
Chandler's
of thing.
very much into them.
It's just interesting sort of like production value.
Yeah.
Really like the recent song Midsummer Madness. They have like this line, and it's a consistent line, and it's a very infectious sort of like ear thing. And then each of them have like their specific parts, and I was like, oh, I like the line, or I like the reverb on that, or I like how everything is like connected in that way, or even like I like that guitar sample. So it's sort of like you have to like take a look, but don't say like, oh, we got to do the same exact thing. Because then like you're being a derivative even furthermore. Because I think all music's really derivative, to be honest. But
I mean, it's kind of hard not to be.
yeah, cause,
Even like accidentally derivative at this point.
And that's
because-
fine. Who cares?
you know,
know?
I mean, some people would, but
Everyone uses the same chords.
Right.
You can't
Yeah.
copyright one of
There's
them.
only like 6 strings on a guitar. You
That's
can only do so much.
Yeah.
Exactly.
unless
so.
you play
Just
like
you wait.
unless you play like an 8-string though.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
But
then
then you're
there's
not
a-
if you play an 8-string, you're not derivative at all.
Yeah.
You're
Congratulations.
like
That's the only way
sonically
out. Yeah.
sonically advanced, and so knowing with that knowledge of like going like back and going now, going forward is even harder because you have to see, okay, this is what's going on right now. You have to have that intuition to sort of say,
Yeah.
all right, this is like where it's going. Like especially I feel like rock and roll and rock music in general has been in sort of kind of like a state of like triteness and sort of irrelevance within the mainstream culture or within most people. I'm not saying like, oh, you have to be not part of the mainstream to enjoy it. But it's sort of like it's a well-known fact that a lot of other genres have taken rock's role as the dominant like music culture and made it into something completely different, which is awesome because there's more new sort of sounds to explore. So being in this genre, what do? You have to reinvent, you have to revitalize, you have to find the core things that make rock and roll a thing. And while making it so interesting that it's completely different, and that's what every generation has to do.
I love that you have that focus on past, present, and future, because I definitely hear like the past in you. Just
Ooh, that sounds weird.
Does that sound weird?
I think
Was that a weird thing to say? Should we cut that part of the tape?
Title?
I see the past in you.
Past in you. All right.
No, that's like a
Past in you?
cheesy line. Oh man.
That's like a ballad that like your 8th grade self would write to that cute girl on like aisle 14.
Did this happen?
Aisle 14? Did you go
This
to
is
high
really
school
specific.
in like a
In a
supermarket?
grocery
No, I mean like no, it's
English 2 on
Dude,
aisle 5.
I learned everything I know from the shelves, dude.
but yeah, it's sort of like this awareness that I think that I should have, but at the same time, you can't really think about it too. You have to find this balance between thinking about it and not thinking about it.
Because you don't want to force it.
Yeah, you don't, and that's sort of the thing that also makes this band work. I tend to think about it a lot, and especially my roommate Chris, the drummer, also thinks in that same vein. But someone like Mac and John will just feel it out and see something like develop and say, "Oh, that just sounds awesome."
Do you guys have a clash there, or is there a balance?
It's a balance.
Because that's an important thing to balance, I think.
I mean, we work off each other. At least, for me, we sort of like, again, we collectively come together, and that's why I say collectively, because not one single person's opinion is better than the other. It's a sort of unified thing to make this the best we can make it. So having these different experiences, inputting, and then like working it out in song determines like what we think is like the best sound.
I feel like that comes across in your music.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel you can hear that, and that is really kind of incredible.
And it's because we have a great group of guys.
You feel the connection in the music between you guys.
I feel like all of us having like different backgrounds adds so much, because we all get to do our own thing. Like Chris is able to put his own beat onto it. I'm able to put my own bass riff onto it, and just like that's what builds off of the music. And I love how Paco put in the past, present, and future aspect to all of this, because that's, I think, what makes the music so enjoyable to us, is because it's not just the Strokes ripoff, at least in our opinion. It's not just the Arctic Monkeys ripoff. It's creating something new with all of our values and everything that we learn and everything that we enjoy into at least what we play in the whole project in general. And it's something to look back on and truly admire, at least in our eyes.
And we want to share that with everyone we meet and everyone we play for. And that's kind of like why we say we're from Antarctica. We're from this place, like, that is so far from what reality is, but that's where we're in, and that's the moment we're in, and that's where we want you to be in, where we want you guys to experience that same thing. At least for me. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak for Chris or John.
I love that. I seriously love that. Don't change the name.
Thank you.
We should.
I'm forcing you.
You guys should try to play a show in Antarctica.
That's the goal.
That is a goal.
That's the ultimate dream.
It is. It's just like we're gonna wear parkas, and we're gonna have like the best winter hats. You gotta wear like a whole Russian outfit for that.
Oh, absolutely.
And then I'll wear like an Inuit like outfit, and then like have a sled, and like we'll like
You've just created a monster. He's going to set up this entire show now.
Oh no, I will. No, I will. And like
I have some contacts. So
I mean, the shame is that it's only gonna be penguins watching you.
See, I'm fine with that. Going back to
guys
like
are gonna
Kung
throw
Fu
down.
Penguin over here that I want to box.
yeah,
Going full circle back to it. If you're out there, I'm watching you,
Mr. Penguin.
Mr. Penguin. Yeah.
he'll waddle towards you. I swear, like someone will waddle towards you, and you'll be like, "You're my penguin. I need to face." It's gonna be like It's gonna be like an
It's
anime.
like a terrible anime.
It's like One Piece, but like
Boku no Penguin. Like,
Oh. Ooh.
yeah, we're weebs. It's
No.
It's a well kept secret.
That's perfectly okay.
yeah.
It's not well kept anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Exposed,
no.
dude.
No.
Thank you.
It's now forever documented that we enjoy the animus as much as anyone does.
Has anime ever affected any of your songwriting?
Back in the day, I'm not gonna lie, I used to play a lot of Dragon Ball Z fighting games,
Nice.
mainly like
Dude.
Budokai
still
series.
does.
Yeah, man.
And there was a certain song that the Budokai 3 theme. I stole like half the riff from that and like I pieced it back together in like I was like 13 or 14 and I put it back together. I'm just like, this is the best riff I've ever made in my life, and it's literally just like clips of like the intro theme to Budokai 3.
That's hilarious.
I mean, there's a secret line in one of our songs, It's Okay to Be Honest, where if you hear me like scream something in a particular line, it goes like something like, it's like, notice me is the line, and so you'll hear me say senpai on like live. You just have to look for it. You literally have to like search it, and it's just at least for me, I have a deep appreciation for it, and it comes across with my romanticization of like my own lyrics. For me, at least, when I write the lyrics, has that sort of like anime of like romance and love, flowers, and it's just, it's sort of it comes across, at least for me, in that way, and I just. Man.
Wait, is Romance Love Flowers a good name for a band?
I feel like it's a good. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, we got the judge here.
I think. Oh, hold on. I think it's a great name for an acoustic duo, 2 girls, and they like longingly stare into each other's eyes as one plays bongos, and one plays guitar and sings.
So like on stage, they never face the audience. They just face each other.
No, they never do, and they all have they all have like a distinct like bob haircut. Okay. And they have a sweater and some like I'll literally like paint this picture, and they're in this coffee house, right? And it's
where
like,
else?
It's about mid-autumn, on a lovely like it's about like the sun is setting.
Smell of frappuccinos.
Oh,
crisp in the
it's
air.
perfectly scarf weather.
Yes, perfect. They have the scarf. One is wearing like a white like nice sweater and cardigan with like a green sort of scarf. And the other one is wearing all black and is wearing like glasses, and like they're singing to each other and they're saying like, yeah. They always want to talk like that at all times. Like it's
really
like,
breathy and stuff.
Breathy, and like it's like they just like finished like a good term paper and they're like all the time.
Your
That's how
imagery is I don't know where you get it from.
I think you just created like the imagery to like a new band. I think someone's gonna like listen to this and be like, all right, we're gonna go out, we're gonna get the glasses, we're gonna get the black shirt, and thank you, Paco.
Oh, we gotta share, man. Gotta share the love. Share
Speaking
the
of
expression.
sharing love, we're gonna go to a break quick. I don't actually know how that's related, but we have to do a break. So
Okay, that sounds good to me.
we'll be right back. And we're back. Poorly edited podcast. We caught off Amresse off guard.
Speaking of which, shout out to Amresse Farrow for filming today's show. I guess I forgot to say that in the very beginning.
She's great. Absolutely great. Phenomenal.
Just an applause.
Phenomenal. Tremendous work. I'm sorry.
big fan.
I had to. That was my impression of myself.
Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. Is you.
Was it
what?
though?
So, I'm curious. What's your guys' approach to live shows? How much do you prepare for them beyond practicing?
Besides not practicing.
Besides
for that
not
one
practicing
song.
cutting edge, do you like prepare anything that isn't musically going in?
It's more of like we get into the spirit of like what the song needs and what the set demands and what type of atmosphere. Like if we're gonna play at a coffee shop and it's a very chill setting, we're gonna play cutting edge no matter what. But but we want to like just give them a more like actual vibe.
Do you guys do acoustic stuff?
Did we?
We've done it at one open mic.
Okay.
We played like an acoustic, like 2-song set, and that was pretty much it. We have not done anything acoustically, but watch out for the future.
Yeah, I
we
feel
might do
like if you guys can find a good way to translate that into acoustic, I think it would be really cool stuff.
Oh, it's fun. Like we've done a few songs in that regard, and like it was a little difficult, but
Sure.
like it still had the same exact feel of the entire.
I don't know, man. Like I just enjoy just the roaring amps and like
Yeah.
breaking,
Yeah.
smashing guitars, that kind of thing.
It's
that
two
kind of
different
Strings.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
We almost didn't talk about that.
Oh no.
no.
So apparently you have a thing.
Yeah.
Every
Yes.
other show, you break a guitar string.
Oh, I think it's due part to the strings I buy.
What kind of strings do you buy?
Well, I usually buy Ernie balls, and I
Yeah,
forget
there's your
what-
first mistake.
Oh, well, it's not. Whoa.
I'm just gonna.
You're gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
But it's more of a. It's not necessarily. It's me actually. I think it's a me issue, because when I get into the moment, I strum really well, and it's like articulated. It's kind of like a John Lennon-esque type of aggressive guitar playing. There's this theory going around, if you ever see like the original Beatles play, if you see John strumming the guitar, it's literally him like playing it as if like he wants to break the guitar.
Okay.
And I sort of like emulate that in the sense that it's this raw emotion. Like I can only do so much as a rhythm guitarist, so I will like drive the song as much as I can. So that sometimes at the expense of strings, and that's why we should always bring a spare guitar.
This is the vicious cycle. Is Paco breaks a string. We have no backup guitar. We have to borrow it from someone else, and we talk for like 3 weeks. We're like,
thank you, Chris.
All right, we're going to bring an extra guitar, a pack of strings. You know, we're going to bring a third guitar, and we're going to do that.
We can bring a roadie to restring it for us.
Exactly. Like we do it for like 3 weeks. We do it for like 2 or 3 shows, and we're like, all right, I think we're fine. And the show, we just don't. The show, we get that pack of strings. We leave the Fender at home and just bring Paco. It's just like all the strings just bust at the same time. It's like, well, someone got a guitar out there. Hey,
yeah, I've never seen 6 strings break at once before. It was insane.
He will do it. I promise
I will. That's a challenge now. That's
what challenge should be.
It's a next step. I can't smash guitar like Pete Townsend, so I have to break my guitar strings instead.
Shout out to Chris Kennedy, who has just happened to still have his guitar there. Thank God he stuck around and was able to help you out.
Also, shout out to Brady, because I used his entire bass rig there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I have a very heavy bass amp. Like, it's about like 60 pounds. And I don't like carrying it around. So he was like, yeah, you can use my bass amp, no problem. I was like, cool. And before we were going there, I was having like the jack issue with my bass. So like when I was actually putting in the 1/4 inch, it would be shaky and would like just make this terrible sound. It was like, okay, we're going to fix it. Never fixed it beforehand. I'm on stage with the bass, and he's making this terrible like humming noise. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to be Brady for a night from From Antarctica. And I just used his entire rig. And I can't, Brady, if you're out there, I love you, and you're my dad. Boogie,
okay,
boogie, woogie.
There it is. We heard it here first.
Same goes for Chris. We'll eventually grow out of this sort of phase of that, I think. Maybe I'll do it as a joke, but I can't really guarantee that. But yeah, and the preparation, I think, also is the spirit of what we are, and like back to the main point of us wanting to share that sort of moment in music and that moment of feeling or emotion, idea or story. We just want to convey it to everyone, and then really like get people going, get people moving, or even just get people thinking, you know, like, oh, maybe this sort of feeling I have is same as them. I want to share it with someone else, whether they just talk to like, you know, their long lost, you know, friend. They're like, hey, you know, I haven't seen you in a while, you know, this song made me think about you. Or I'm not saying we will have that much impact, but that's kind of like, for me, like how I feel about what I would want to do with our music, you know, and especially live. And that's that sort of connection that we want to ensure. And the tilted screen is just absolutely
I don't know what happened.
I just love it. It's
good.
It's like how I'm tilted with the rest of my life.
Mhm,
So
Nice.
Fair.
So, unfortunately, I think we have to wrap things up soon. So, if you guys want to shout out some social media or anything like that.
Absolutely.
Upcoming
We're
shows,
on,
maybe?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify. All look up. We're also on Bandcamp, SoundCloud. We're getting a MySpace. We will be delivering you music through carrier pigeon as soon as we can get one. Friendster, absolutely. All from We're From Antarctica. Again, my name is Mac from Flying and Flaming Salmon, and from We're From Antarctica, and a lot of other bands.
Get Lost was one of them. Can't remember the first one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We also have.
We also have a show coming up on the 30th of September, the Allentown Arts Fest, and we are playing on the third day, on the Sunday, 1:30 to 2:15 at the Tape Swap Radio stage, and it's going to be an awesome thing. And in addition, we also have a show coming up with Live at 13, October 27th. That's as much of the details I can. You got to ask Chris Kennedy for more details, man.
Yeah, the Run From the Radio, or right? Is that what his promos videos? Yeah, Run From
Yeah,
the
I
Radio.
think so.
Twitter will have more information on the Live at 13 show.
The RFTR boys.
But thank you guys for letting us on. We really appreciate this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
If you want to follow us, it's Lab 212 on most things.
Most things, pretty much everything.
Yeah.
The only exception would be Facebook. Check out the Poorly Edited Podcast. Also, make sure Sly Elliott on everything.
Sly Elliott and everything.
Couldn't be here today. That's my fault. Probably.
I'm gonna blame
I'm
him.
sorry.
Yeah. I think it's all our fault,
That's fine too.
including his. It's a little bit.
Sure.
We all share it.
Yeah. He didn't have to get abducted by Mickey Mouse
That's
or whatever
true.
happened.
All
But
right, I'm gonna play us out with a little song called "Cutting Edge" that I should have had prepared.
There
Just to
we
go full circle. That's
But
good.
yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. I think you guys are onto something very special and very unique in the way you approach songwriting and playing live. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And
Please.
Please stick around.
That we shall.
All right. Thank you and good night.